What is going on, guys? Welcome to Real Men Talk. Today, we have got a very special guest with you. I'm so excited to introduce Danarius Moore, who's going to be with us today, and we're going to hear a little bit about his story and his podcast. We're all excited. Let's get started on Real Men Talk.
Welcome to Real Men Talk, discussing the tough issues facing men and their families every day. Here are your hosts.
What up? What's going on, Kyler?
Hey, guys, what's up?
And I would like to introduce Danarius Moore. What's going on, Danarius?
What's happening, guys?
All right. So Danarius Moore is he's a good friend of ours. He goes to church with us. I've seen him grow up, I don't know, since you were probably about 15, 16 years old.
Yes.
And so it's exciting to see what God has done in his life and how he has
Don't mind me.
Sorry, I guess my ADHD doesn't work that way. Anyway, so we've known him for several years now, since he was 15, 16 years old, and so he is a very bright young man, and I'm so excited for you guys to kind of hear his story and all that stuff. So, Danarius, why don't you just start off by introducing yourself?
Hey, guys. Like I said, I'm Danarius Moore, and there's nothing much to me. I am as simple as it gets. I am a 24-year-old guy. I enjoy Christ, and I enjoy the church, but also I am a fanatic of business and psychology. Probably more psychology. I've been deep in psychology, and so there's a whole journey that I've been proud and grateful that I've been able to grow upon. But for me, I'm simple as it gets. I enjoy basketball. I used to enjoy running, but that ended after high school. And I'm simple. I work for McDonald's. That's my career path, and it's exciting. A lot of good things come from that. And so that's just me. That's who I am.
Yeah. And so on your career path, you say you work for McDonald's, but you're like some kind of big manager there here in the Bluff, ain't you?
Yes, I'm general manager at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And you're 24 years old, mind you. Now, I've worked in restaurants for a long time, right? I don't know that I ever met a person that was 24 years old and a general manager, and he says he's simple. That's not true. That's an amazing accomplishment.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show, your character, your drive, that we've all seen in you for a long time. And now that, it's kind of playing out in your career and stuff like that. And you're married. You want to tell us about your wife?
I am. My her name is Michaela Sullivan, and she is fantastic. She's a blessing to be with. She is definitely, when they say, they're your other half, she's definitely my other half, that I need her in my life because I am crazy. And when I'm off on the rampant, she can calm me down and relax me. Not even when I'm over energetic about something, but simply she is there not just for comfort, but emotional guidance is beneficial, even when she doesn't know she's doing it. So it's great. It's a good, and her family's amazing.
Yeah, she does have an amazing family.
Yes.
I love the Sullivans. And, Michaela, funny story, and now I'm going to tell my age here. When we first moved over to the new church, my wife and I, we did junior children's church, right? So you're talking like 4 to 6 year olds. Michaela Sullivan was in there. And so I've seen her grow up from itty bitty, basically her entire life. I've seen her grow up and stuff. And so it's really awesome to see you guys, where you're at, and God using you guys. You guys do life groups. You guys are involved in the youth group. Tell us a little bit about your ministries there inside the church.
Yeah, so me, I do youth group. I'm a part of the greeting team for the church. I do life groups. There's a little bit more I do on others. I used to do like some outreach ministries with the church a little bit, but I'm heavily involved in youth group. I am an advocate for youth group. I love the youth. I think I'm passionate about the youth, and I think that's where it starts. It's huge that we see a lot of children that, when they're in a youth age, that if they don't get community and family, then it's going to be a lot harder later. And so I'm a huge advocate for, getting people in place and fit in the church and get a community so that it's easier later. And but I love it. It's a big part of me, and I don't know what I'd do without it.
Yeah. And so let's just, this is a good transition right into your testimony, because you're a product of the youth group.
Yes.
They're the church. I remember you coming in, like I said, 15, 16 years old, and Charlie taking you under his wing,
Yep.
and, all this stuff. And so tell us a little bit about your testimony, how you got to the Palace of Praise, what led you there, what kept you there, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So it's a crazy, road that it was, because I tell people, I say, it was definitely God. He drew the road, he drew the map, because even if I tried to redo that myself, I couldn't do it.
Right.
And so, when I was in my 8th grade year, way back, because I'm so old, my 8th grade year, I wasn't the best student. I was not well behaved. And so what happened was, how it all started, I got suspended in my 8th grade year from high school, from my 8th grade. And I came to Poplar Bluff for those 2 weeks I was suspended for. And what happened was, I spent time here with my dad, and we just, we hung out here, and I wasn't the well-behaved. I was just away from home. But that is when I first came to Poplar Bluff, actually. And then that was around spring, my 8th grade year, so March area. And then what happened was, so that year later, I actually got sent here from my mom. She was like, it'd be better for you to go down to Poplar Bluff over there. And I said, okay, well, let's do it. And so I moved with my dad, and I wasn't caring about church, but he was already going to the Palace. And so what happened is I started going to the Palace that summer, and it was difficult. It was different. And so I started going to the Palace, and then I'm talking immediately, I felt this community, this welcoming spirit that it was awesome. You can't describe it, where you're accepted in a way that by action, not just by words, but just by action. And so, so things happen without me forcing it. And so I got into the youth group. I was big in that. And then what happened was, I started getting involved. And that's what the big thing for me was. I was getting involved on things, and coming towards my sophomore year, I'm getting involved. Okay, I'm still not well behaved in school, but coming into my sophomore year, I'm getting more involved. I got into drama. I tell people, drama was not my thing.
I remember that.
That was not me. I'm a basketball guy. I'm a cool kid per se, so they do. But I got into drama and connection, community. And so it was a huge benefit. And then what started happening was, I started hanging out with Charlie. He was a huge advocate for me. And I started hanging out with Zach before he was a youth pastor. And what happened was, I started spending so much time with them that I didn't have to worry about leaving the other people. All I had to worry about, I'm spending time with them, and I will automatically be pulled away from them. So it was a fantastic. And so that was my journey. But you talk about when me getting saved, and I had terrible anger issues. Terrible. And I would flip out off anything. Something small, I would just react and go crazy. And so I was delivered and disconnected from that, and by the grace of God. But I tell you, there's times, my little stepbrother, we were young playing basketball, and I would just freak out. Freak out on him for no reason. And I remember vividly, that night I went to evening service on Sunday, and I went to the altar. I was like, okay, I can't do this anymore. I don't want this anymore. I don't want anger. I don't want all this bitterness in my life. And God delivered me from that. But when the real transformation happened was actually my junior year. That was it. We were at a Winterfest, and that's when it happened. And so, sorry, actually, I apologize. That was my sophomore year. It was my sophomore year. Yeah.
Was that the year you were in my room?
I believe so.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was transformational. And since then, it's been different. It's been totally different. And so, but all of this happening, in the whole process of all of this happening, me coming here, there's so many, even up to me getting married, there were so many, because I ran track. So there's so much opportunity for me to even go leave. I was about to leave, but my senior year in high school, I got hurt twice. And it wasn't it didn't follow through. And so which was traumatic for me because that was all I was going for. But if I would have left, and I wouldn't be where I'm at now, and I wouldn't be married to the wife I'm married to now. And so it's been, I cannot just redesign it if I wanted to.
Right.
It's been a lot, and I've learned a lot in the whole process.
Yeah, because you were breaking records.
Yeah, I was.
Love.
Yeah, I was blessed. I was pretty quick.
Yeah.
In some races, for sure. Yeah. But yeah, that's what happened. I didn't leave. I was so close. I was talking to a coach and actually Evangel, and and I was working with the coach in Evangel, and the guy, it was being prolonged. It was going slow. And so I was like, you know what? I need to sign up for college. So I signed up for TRC. And what happened was the day I signed up, literally I come home and there's a check, offer in the mailbox for a scholarship. It was $26,000.
Oh my goodness.
And I was like, I'm not doing it. I'm not going. And so it was, and this is crazy because this is the one thing I was working for. And I was like, I'm not going. And so it was moments like that where it's like God has orchestrated my life in ways that I've tried to go the wrong way. But if that would have came a day earlier, I would have taken it. I would have been gone. Mm-hmm. But it didn't. And so it's crazy how things work.
Yeah. Kyler, you got anything for him?
I know Darius completely different. I mean, I got the coaching aspect of Danarius. I mean, when he was not a long distance runner. Just to let everybody know, he did cross country. He did his best. I will give you that. He tried everything. But I got to see Danarius after the fact, not before the fact. And so seeing and hearing this was completely different because Danarius only had the yes attitude. I mean, he worked hard. He did. He knew he was not the best at cross country, but he was still one of the top ones that we had. So how do you think, so if your mom never would have sent you down here, what do you think your life would be like now?
Oh man.
And where's that from for the listeners? Where's that? Where are you originally from?
Blytheville, Arkansas. Yes. Okay. So a little bit down south, about an hour, probably hour and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So how do you think your life would have ended up?
Honestly, it's hard to quantify the exactly or even ideal. Like, man, what would I have done? Because I am a proponent and a believer of environment that whatever environment you are in, that's whatever environment you're going to succumb to. So, and it's such a terrible environment I was in. Yeah. There was nothing that was investing into me in a way that was going to bring out the fruit. And so it would have been a God thing. Yeah. It would have been totally God thing. That if I would have stayed there and been able to be on the path I am on now. I don't know that if I would have, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Absolutely.
I don't think I would have.
You know, and I hope that you don't mind me bringing this up, but there was a lot of things that even happened during that transition, with you and Charlie, or I guess I should say with you and your dad, and then you ended up with Charlie.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
I definitely can. Yeah.
Okay.
So, I get transparent, honestly. So what happened was, this was later my junior year. Mm-hmm. And what happened was at home with my dad, they were not financially stable. Mm-hmm. And so I think the electricity got turned off and it was not a stable home. So what happened was like, okay, well, you guys can't really be here. And so what happened was, I guess my dad reached out to Charlie. I didn't even know about it before he did. And he reached out and, say, you guys are going to stay with Charlie for a little bit. I'm like, okay, that's, what a blessing from him because that's a huge sacrifice. And I never really noticed until I got my own home that's comfortable. And I'm like, man. And I think about it a lot, like, how could I bring someone else in like that? It's a huge sacrifice that I can never repay. But that happened. And I went over to Charlie's and I learned a lot. Seasons, deep seasons for me. I got to a point where I was like, well, no, I am grateful that I have this opportunity, that I can spend time with these people. But then there's a part of me too, also as a human, that's like, man, where's my family?
Right.
And I'm a young guy in high school, so this was huge. So what happened was actually I had a Coach Liz, and she was a huge like mother figure in my life in high school. She supported me a lot in a lot I did. And so what happened was, and I haven't talked about this much, but I actually got pretty much like declared like homeless in high school because I didn't have actual guardians. I was just, I didn't live with my parents. They were my legal guardians. I was just out there. And it was for a 16-year-old guy, young. I'm like, man, that's shocking. It's like,
Yeah.
That's hard. It's hard to even quantify. And how can I even be okay? And so I wasn't okay. I went to a point where I'm like, God, why? Why me? Why does my family not want me? Why? Why is my life like this? And I felt like an outcast. And the crazy thing was, I felt like an outcast from not just one thing, but many different things.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I didn't fit in. So it was that I felt different. And so I went into deepness. I didn't read my Bible for 6 months. Didn't touch it. I avoided it. And I remember this vividly. And there's a point, it's like, okay, sitting in my room, it's like, I had a moment, it's like, no more of this. No, God loves me. There's some kind of purpose in this, and I don't know what it is, but it has to be. And it's those low moments, and that's what people don't know about me. It's like I tell people, it's like I failed a ton. I failed a lot, and by God's grace, I've been able to get back up. But I failed a lot of many different things I've done and tried. But that was one of those moments. Like, man, I'm a 16-year-old guy. It's like I feel like I'm declared homeless. I don't feel like I have any family. I'm by myself. I'm alone. Mm-hmm. Where's God? I know He's doing some good in my life, but I just want some connection. I just want some family. And so that was one of the lowest parts of my life, actually. I haven't told many people about this. Not that I'm ashamed, but
I'm sure it's hard to talk about.
Yeah, it's deep.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. And it's, I've learned a lesson. I look back and I'm grateful.
Yeah.
Now, I'm totally grateful for it because I do believe that it is those hard moments that brings that foundation.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Danarius, this is phenomenal. What we're going to do is we're going to take a little break. And when we come back, we're going to continue talking about your story and how this part of your life defined the second part of your life. All right, we'll be right back after this.
This portion of Real Men Talk is brought to you by the Jeweler's Bench. They are a full-service jewelry store offering many styles of gold, silver, diamonds, and gemstones. And all jewelry repair is done in-house so you can get your treasured pieces back as soon as possible. They are also a licensed Citizen Watch dealer. Make sure to visit them today at 1353 North Westwood or call 573-686-1522. Call or stop in and thank them for bringing you Real Men Talk.
If you want to join in the conversation, join us on Thursday nights at 6:30 p.m. We gather with other like-minded Christian brothers to discuss hard-hitting topics that affect men on a daily basis and use a biblical approach to overcome common strongholds that affect our families. We show men the importance of being the spiritual leader of their home and what it means to be a real man in the eyes of Christ. Join us at the Palace of Praise, located at 1400 Herschel Best Boulevard in Poplar Bluff, Missouri. We meet in room 400 every Thursday. Come be a part of the discussion.
3 letters, starts with C, bovine.
Cow.
Oh yeah, that fits.
You know, Bob, there's something missing in my life. I don't know what it is. I have everything I need, but yet there's something missing.
Mm-hmm. How about 5 letters, starts with J, Savior of the world?
Jesus.
Oh, thanks.
I feel so helpless. There's no one to talk to who has the answers. I just wish there was a way I could reach out to someone who could help.
6 letters, starts with P and ends with R, petitioning God.
Prayer. I don't know. Maybe there's someplace I could go to, people I could talk to.
Ends with H, place of worship.
That's easy. Church.
Oh, right.
It just isn't fair. We should have been given a manual or something that has the answers.
Holy book starts with B?
Bible, come on, man, think.
Oh, yeah, it's so obvious. You sure know the answers.
Maybe the answers you've heard time and time again are the answers you need to use. Another message from Lifeline Productions, located on the web at lifelinepro.com.
This portion of the Real Men Talk is brought to you by R.L. Persons Construction. For over 29 years, they have been a regional leader completing projects that include private, municipal, state, and federal agencies of all types. From mass grading, utilities, concrete of all types, to buildings both conventional and pre-engineered steel. You can expect excellence in all aspects of their finished work. Contact them today at 573-686-1323 and let them know you appreciate them bringing you Real Men Talk. If you have a question about this week's show, please drop us an email to realmen@palaceofpraise.com. We would love to hear from you. And now back to the show with Anthony and Kyler.
All right, guys, we're back here with Danarius, and before break, we were talking a little bit about his testimony and, his upbringing and everything else, but we want to get a little bit deeper into that. So we were talking while we were on break a little bit more. I asked Danarius to come talk to the FCA kids at school, and he did a phenomenal job, but there's one part that I wanted him to kind of mention and talk about that I want him to kind of get into now, but there was a part in your life where the gang scene was kind of there. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I directly was not involved. I wasn't in the gang, but it was huge in the community, huge, where all of my siblings are, all of their friends are, the cousins. It was like if you weren't in the gang, you're weird. And not just, some places have gangs, but not as violent as where I was. And so, but yeah, I mean, when you have brothers that are in gangs, you're talking, there's times, I remember one time vividly, I'm a young kid, I think I'm about 11, 12, and I'm sitting in my room playing video games, like young kids do, and I'm playing video games, and I see my brother, he comes into the room rushing, opens the closet door, goes in and grab a gun, clicks it, walk out, and fast, so it's like, it's like, what is happening? I'm this young guy, it's like, I want to play video games, but what is this about? And so finds out he just got jumped by all these people because he's in a gang that lived on the opposite side of town where the other gang lives. And so it was all of this stuff. I mean, it was a normal in this community. I remember one day, it was a Sunday, and we wake up, it's like 9:00 before church, and 2 people died, got shot, killed. And we're like, man, that's crazy. Well, because it's so normal. Wow. People dying like that, and we're talking just few, 2 blocks away. It's like, it's normal. Wow. It's normal. And it's huge. It's just standard, gang violence, get into the gang. And I actually didn't get in the gang. And I think that's a God thing. Yeah. Because I'm surrounded totally by it. But I was so close to it that I've seen drive-bys. I've seen people drive by shooting at each other. My cousin actually did a drive-by on my house. I was younger. Wow. Drove by, shot at our house. And a whole family inside. My siblings go outside and shoot back right in the road. I'm watching all of this. This is a normal lifestyle. Things like that. When you see stuff like that, it changes things. Yeah. Perspective wise. And this has been one of the biggest advocates for me and who I am today of why I don't care about the tough life. Now, I think there's a balance, of course, but people there's a lot of just hardness. And sadly right now, it's preached about this right now and talked about online these gurus talking about just being tough and rigid. There's a balance. And I'm on the, not just the other side, but I've been blessed to find that balance of sort of mental toughness or anti-fragility. It's more of like, it's like wellness, mental wellness. And so that is where all that came from, because of me as a person, like, hey, I don't want to be just hard and ego, because that's all I've seen all my life. Is people thinking they're right. Guns and gangs thinking they're right. And so it really shaped my perspective on, man, I don't really care about the ego, because I see what ego actually do when it gets crazy. Like people that go far off the barometer on ego.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, but when you're talking about community there, yeah, I've seen gun violence. I've seen police shootings, like not just police shooting at other people, police being shot at by multiple people. Like there's a barricade of cars and they're being shot at. And I mean, vividly, I can tell you where it happened. And so when you see that stuff,
it messes with you, doesn't it?
It does. And open up your eyes about, man, first thing, how can you trust people? Yeah. It was hard for me to trust people. You can ask my wife. We were actually on vacation in Florida, and I think this was Tuesday. And there's this weird guy. He was behind me. It's 87 degrees outside. He has sweatpants, a sweater, and a jacket on. I'm like, this can't be good. But I still have to watch myself, because I don't trust people. And mostly because I have to watch my back daily.
Yeah.
In that area. I drive through now and I'm like, man, lock the cars. We're not stopping here, because I know like people are crazy. And violence is actually, some people will actually, sadly, they would kill you for nothing.
Yeah.
For nothing. And, but that was that was huge. I've seen so much. I mean, it was just daily. I've seen people, drugs too. You know, it's not just the violence, but drugs.
Right.
I mean, crazy. I mean, badly. And it's not just seeing people that do drugs, but seeing the drugs. You know, having family members or people that, I mean, they supply the drugs. And this is not small people. These are people that say, hey, we got probably $100,000 worth of drugs stored, and we run the whole town. That was my family. And, you know, it's normal. Smoking weed, whole family did it. Still do it. And so it's like, I'm the only one I was telling my wife, I say literally out of my grandparents, not my parents, but my grandparents, you're talking, I'm about 100 people on both sides. I'm like the only one who goes to church, who does what I do. And so it's an anomaly, but it's actually, I'm grateful.
Yeah. Wow. I had never heard any of that. I did not realize that you had been brought up in that kind of situation. And so with all that there, let's jump forward just a little bit. Okay. So you graduate high school. Okay. If I'm not mistaken, when you graduated high school here in the Bluff, you were working at McDonald's, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's kind of where it all started at. And you said you got into psychology.
Yes.
So tell me how all that happened.
Yeah, for sure. So I remember, I was working at McDonald's. This was 2018 December.
Okay.
2018 December. Brantley, my best friend, Brantley James, he just decides out of nowhere, just go to the military. Like he comes home and say, hey, I'm going to the Army. Like, what?
Listen, that boy needed a little structure.
He needed some structure. But like, that's one person I know, like if I can make a fast decision, I need to be like him. He just makes decisions.
Yeah, it wasn't always good though.
It wasn't good. Definitely wasn't good, but he makes them. But yeah, he came home and he's like, I'm going to the Army. So he went into the Army. So I'm at home, for months, just me. And I'm not big on distractions or doing a lot of things. I like being at home, and there's a big reason for that. I enjoy being at home. I can do nothing, and that's mainly because I've never enjoyed my home life until I got married.
Right.
Never. And my home situations, even I live with Charlie, I was grateful, but I never felt like home.
Right.
I was discontent. And so now I enjoy being at home. And so I was at home a lot. And what happened was I actually challenged myself. This is December 2018. I was like, you know what? I wonder if I can become successful. That was my whole idea. That's my whole idea. That was my idea. Like, I wonder if I can become successful. And I get into a marketing program. I learned marketing, digital marketing, and advertising. So I go through that, learn marketing. And this is what I tell people. Like, I get in it. I try to work with some clients, and I fail miserably at this. Miserably.
Yeah.
And I tried. And so this was the spark of all of this. Failed at it. And so what happened was I got into marketing, and then I got into sales. Now, this is where I learned a lot of things. It's in sales. I got deep into sales. Learning sales. I've done sales for a while. But what happened is in 2018, in 2018, I got this thing called, I made this like persona and this ideal of who I want to become. And I was pushing from 2018 to 2020, I was pushing to become this ideal version of myself. But what happened was I would fail. And as I tried to chase this person, or tried to go towards this person, the person I became in the process didn't want that anymore. So my idea was like, I want to make $1 million.
Right.
But in the process of chasing $1 million, I became a different person, and that new person didn't want that anymore. Didn't value the money, didn't care. And that's what happened now. For 4 years, I chased, from 2018 to 2020, I wanted to make money. But in 2020, 2022, the person became like, I don't care about the money. Who cares? Family, home, that's all that matters. And so that's what happened. I became a different person. So I started seeking different things. And so what happened was I started becoming more passionate about psychology. And this is around 2020. I was in sales, and I dove to sales. I was doing sales online, and I started getting into psychology. So I went through some psychology programs, and I started actually mentoring people in 2020. I started mentoring people, on the side, not for money, just talking to people all the time, helping them out, getting clarity in their life. And I just became passionate about psychology. So I went into psychology programs, like a diploma in psychology. I went through neurolinguistics programming, hypnotherapy. I went through all these different things, and I studied these forms of psychology. But so I learned things from courses. But what really got me was, when I was raised up, I believe I was raised up with all of these discontributing beliefs about the world, about life, and I had to relearn a lot of things. So what happened was I actually documented all of my learnings.
Oh, wow.
So in my phone, I can show you, there's probably over 200 notes about new philosophies I have about my life and what is actually true. And so I started documenting all of this. And this is where things become profound for me, because I started documenting and I started journaling. And then that allowed me to springboard in my learning and everything. And so not only was I learning from my own life by documenting my lessons, but I was learning from psychology courses and people around me and mentors and people that are smaller than me. And so that is how I got into psychology, and I dove deep. For at least about 2 years, I was just in psychology and sales.
Wow.
And what happened was I learned how to communicate, talk to people. And when I was in sales, I spoke to it was about 2,700 business owners I was speaking with. They weren't my clients, but I was working with them. And I was learning how to sell them. Like, what makes a person how to sell a person, how to get the person to make a decision. And that's really where I learned some sales and got deep into that. So that's how I got to business also, was the sales part. It's like, I enjoy this. I enjoy helping people. I enjoy providing this little advice, and they get a 10x result before my small advice. That felt fulfilling a little bit.
Yeah.
So that is how that transition all worked. But what kept me on this is this thing I call the morning formula. It is a formula that was created that for me to try to connect to a future version. Like, hey, this is the person that I would like to become. I'm going to focus on this person. And knowing that I may not become this person, because I may change. It may change. God may change my heart. That may change. And so, but it's this morning formula. I rehearsed it for years. And so I have like personal commandments I live by, like be the lion and the lamb, humble and fierce.
Yes.
And be patient, because all things will come to you, but in time. And so there's these 10 commandments I wrote for myself. Like, these are my values. And I rehearsed those for years.
Yeah.
Years, every morning. And it gets to a point where they become normal. It's just part of me. And it's another blessing that I was able to do that. But I think the biggest thing for me in my psychology is because I was raised with all these bad beliefs.
Right.
And I had to learn how to think different, because my family was not my role model. And if I wanted to be a little different, I had to learn how to think different.
Yeah.
And so that's when I started documenting my journey, my lessons, everything, and my new philosophies. And so now I have a arsenal of just philosophies and psychology ideas.
Man, I tell you what, listening to you, okay, one, I super admire you. To have the willpower, okay, this is something, I was old, I just turned 41, I was well into my 30s before I was able to get past. I realized that I needed to seek truth, not just what I wanted, right? Like, yeah. My goal in life should be to seek truth, which is Jesus Christ.
Yes.
Right. And that's what drove me into apologetics and different things like that. And I was old, and here you are, you're 24 years old, and you were able to defy a line of thinking that people never get over. I mean, look at that lifestyle. Look at how many different cities and different places are full of people just like you grew up with that will never get out of there, right? Yeah, and it's heart-wrenching, right? It really is. It's heart-wrenching because they can't change their mindset, right? And yet here you are, you did it on your own, right? Well, I don't want to say on your own, because God helped you through that, right? But even God pulling at people don't get out of that lifestyle so many times. And it is so encouraging to hear somebody your age that was able to just overcome that mindset. Dude, I kudos to you, and so this entire time you're going through this psychology, you're going through all this stuff. You're still working at McDonald's, working your way up at McDonald's. Now you're general manager. And I had stopped by, just quick side note, I had stopped by there one day, and you remember seeing me there? Yeah. And you guys were getting to have like a big meeting or whatever. He was all dressed up, he had like his shirt tucked in, a little collar shirt on. I was like, man, look at him, check him out. Dude, I'm super proud of you. But you have got a podcast, okay? Mind molding tactics, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I would imagine that came out of your passion for psychology.
Yes.
Okay, so tell our listeners a little bit about your podcast, where they can find it, and kind of the a little bird's eye view of it.
Yeah. So I created this podcast, Mind Molding Tactics. This was in 2020. I actually published the episode today. I'm in 165 episodes right now. Wow. And these are and the big idea behind this, it's a small dose of medicine. You can listen to in the morning when you're in the shower, you're working out, on a drive, 3 to 5 minutes. A small dose of some ideal that it can plant a seed in your heart. But what happened was I think it was a God thing, because you can ask my wife, I'd be in bed and I get all these ideas coming to me about psychology. I mean, this is like epiphany states, like, man, light bulbs going off. And I was like, I got to get this out of me. I can't. And so the only way for me, the outlet for me is I need to just record. I got to get this information out of me, because I can't even sleep anymore, because this is all just dwelling in me. And so that's when it happened. Like, okay, I'm going to record. So start recording. I don't know how to record. I'm just going to record something. And so I started recording, and the whole idea behind it is I'm huge on thinking. I'm huge on thinking. I think if you can think different, then you get different outcomes. So there's this thing in psychology called the internalization process. And it's universal. It's about how we all think and how it's linked to our outcomes. And it says that it starts with feelings. When you feel something, you will think something automatically. There's no thought without a feeling. Mm-hmm. And so, when you think and feel something perpetually, it creates a belief. And so a belief breeds action, and action breeds outcomes. Mm-hmm. And so what this process says that if you can align this, and this is what I learned, is like, well, I'm big on thinking. If I can help people just think a little different, open their perspective, and it's not about changing people's beliefs, that's not the goal. Mm-hmm. But I think about challenging beliefs.
Right.
And so that's when I created that podcast. It's like, first it was an outlet. I love psychology. It's like, well, now I'm passionate about this. Let's change it. So what happened was I did a season 1, lasted for about a year and a half. And I came back on season 2. I took about a year off, so, growing as a person. And I came back, and my whole idea is just to be an advocate for people. That's all. And I am passionate about, I believe that I am called to something that God wants me, I think, of good impact, mm-hmm. per se. And I want to allow people to follow their paths that God's called them to be by opening their thinking.
Yeah.
And so that's when I created this. And this podcast, it was phenomenal for me, an outlet. And so I did that, and I stopped, and I got back on it, and it's been great. I publish every Monday and Friday, mm-hmm. sometimes Wednesday for bonus content, and simply just 3 to 5 minutes, small dose of medicine for your mind, and that'll get you hyped up, get you some clarity, and keep trucking.
Yeah. So I listen. I love it. Whenever I had found out that you had a podcast, Kyler and I have done this, and I was like, I didn't know a whole lot of people who did podcasts. And then Malachi, my boy, he was like, Danarius has got a podcast, right? I was like, no, I didn't know. So I started checking it out, dude. I love it. And, because, especially with me driving trucks, so I listen to podcasts all the time, and I love the little nugget, and I tell the men in my men's group, on Thursdays, and we talk about it on here sometimes. We should all, and especially in our apologetics class, we should all be critical thinkers, right? We should all be analytical about what we think. That way, when we find truth, right? When we find truth, we know that we can change. Like, our mindsets have got to change, right? Not truth has got to change to us. We have to change to truth, right? Because truth is our foundation. Of course, all truth is encompassed in Jesus Christ. And so that's so powerful. And again, here you are, you're 24 years old. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times I could say that, dude. I'm like super proud of you. And Kyler, you got any questions before we land this plane?
I don't. I just have one thing to say, though. As you were talking earlier about your family, and you gave me the number 100, and one thing to remember about your whole story, and sometimes we forget, but you were the one of the 99 in this whole story. You were this specific one that God let you keep your innocence. He went out to find you. He went out of his way to bring you back in. And we as men need to remember that in our story, there's one point, no matter where we're in our story, that we are the one. And we just have to hold on to that one point, and then he will take us the rest of the way. And he led you, and he kept you this whole time for many seasons. Your life is full of seasons, and that's the best part. My life is full of seasons too, and all of our lives are, but like he knew that he needed to take it in small dosage, and he came and he found you. In every single one of those 99s, you were the one, and he kept you there for a reason. And so we just have to remember that perspective in our lives, is that we are the one.
Okay. Yeah. And man, it's super exciting. Like I keep saying that, it's super exciting to see somebody your age, who you are. You have a beautiful wife. God's obviously doing amazing things in your mind, in your heart. And it's phenomenal. Because you already realize what most people don't, is that it's not just for you, right? God changes us, he grows us, but it's not for us, right? It's for the world.
Yes.
To bring glory to Jesus Christ, in the world. And so, dude, man, I'm proud of you. I'm so excited that our listeners are going to be able to hear. Listen, you guys have got to go check out his podcast. It is so good. Mind Molding Tactics. You will not be disappointed. And Danarius, you got any final words? If you could, somebody your age, some of these young men that are listening, if you just have like a word of a little nugget for them, have at it.
The one nugget I would say I would have is create an environment that doesn't allow you to fail, even when you want to. When you want to. Emotions change, temptations come. You can structure in an environment in your life that does not allow you to fail. It's almost impossible for you to go the wrong way. And create one-way lanes. A lot of times in life, we want to create many decisions. We want to do one thing, but we give our mind another choice. Create one-way lanes. When Michael Jordan says that once I make a decision, I never thought about it again. And sometimes it's you just make a decision and go that way. And so it's really important to just create an environment of people, of support and structure where even when you are in a low state, you are still carried to your goal and where God wants you to be.
Man, that's phenomenal. So guys, those of you who are listening, again, go check out his podcast, Mind Molding Tactics. I listen to on Spotify. I imagine you can probably get it in Apple Podcasts, all the good places.
Yes.
Right. And and if you've got any questions, email us, realmen@palaceofpraise.com. You can always contact us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We are now on YouTube and TikTok. And so are you on any of those things?
I do have a Twitter for mine, and it is being rebranded into Mental Medicine at the moment.
Mental Medicine.
Yes, I write blogs actually. I have blogs that I dive deep into these ideas. I give you 4 to 7 strategies on how to hit a goal, get clarity. And so I do that about three days a week. There's blogs also. That's medium.com/@Danarius Moore, and you find blogs for me. And I really dive into other topics about life in general too.
There you go, guys. You guys heard it. Go check it out. And of course, don't forget about the website, www.realmenministries.us. Guys, we love you. We know that the Lord is for you. He is not against you. He wants to see you succeed. And as always, I want to end in a prayer. Holy Spirit, teach us to be leaders of our homes, of our communities, and of our churches. And teach us to be godly, courageous men. In Jesus' name, amen.
You've been listening to Real Men Talk, brought to you by Palace of Praise Church in Poplar Bluff, Missouri. If you would like to get in touch with us, shoot us an email, realmen@palaceofpraise.com, or visit our website at palaceofpraise.com. If you're a man age 16 and up and would like to be a part of the conversation, join us at the Palace of Praise every Thursday night at 6:30 p.m. If you don't have a home church, consider joining us for worship on Sundays at 10:30 a.m. and 6 p.m. Palace of Praise is located at 1400 Herschel Best Boulevard in Poplar Bluff, Missouri. New episodes of Real Men Talk drop every Thursday at 5 p.m. You can find us at iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Anchor.fm, Amazon, and more. Real Men Talk is a production of Palace Media Service.
Real Men Talk has been brought to you this week by RLP Construction in Poplar Bluff, Missouri. For commercial contracting of all types, see RLP Construction today. And by the Jeweler's Bench in Poplar Bluff. They are your one-stop shop for all your fine jewelry needs. They also do in-house repair and are your Citizen watch dealer. Make sure to thank our sponsors for bringing you Real Men Talk.
If you want to join in the conversation, join us on Thursday nights at 6:30 p.m. We gather with other like-minded Christian brothers to discuss hard-hitting topics that affect men on a daily basis and use a biblical approach to overcome common strongholds that affect our families. We show men the importance of being the spiritual leader of their home and what it means to be a real man in the eyes of Christ. Join us at the Palace of Praise, located at 1400 Herschel Best Boulevard in Poplar Bluff, Missouri. We meet in room 400 every Thursday. Come be a part of the discussion.